All right, ready to dive in. We're tackling Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now today.
Yeah, it's one of those books that's really impacted people, not just another self-help thing.
Definitely not. So we'll unpack the big ideas, see if it's something you want to check out yourself. Like, what's Tolle's deal? Why this book?
Well, you see, before his whole awakening, Tolle struggled with anxiety, even depression, and the struggles. That's kind of the root of his insights into presence, into now.
Right, like the wound is where the light enters kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I agree.
So first big takeaway, hit me with it.
Okay, so the power of now, it all comes down to this. You are not your mind.
Whoa. Okay, intrigued, but also kind of freaking out a little. I mean, we need our minds, right?
Of course. Tolle's not saying ditch the mind entirely. It's more like we get so caught up in the chatter up there, we think that's all we are. But
Mhm.
there's this like treasure chest inside us, this awareness, but we're like that beggar sitting on a box of gold, never even opening it.
Oh, wow. Okay, that analogy is powerful. It's
Mhm.
true, that voice, man, nonstop sometimes. It's what he calls the ego, right?
Yeah.
Like a phantom self our mind cooks up.
Precisely. He even compares it to like hearing voices. If someone says they hear voices, are they crazy or are they just like us, but the voice is external? Most of us, we have that running commentary, judging, worrying, overthinking, and it's a trap.
Trap. How so?
We get stuck in what he calls psychological time. Not clock time, that's useful, but this psychological time, the mind replaying the past.
Or anxiously rehearsing for the future, right?
Exactly. And that's where suffering comes from. Stuck in our heads, dwelling on what we can't change, worrying about what might be. We miss the only moment we have now.
It's like arguing in your head. Both sides are you. Who's even winning?
You're feeding the exact thing Tolle wants you to see as separate, that ego. And here's the thing, when we do quiet the mind, even a little, that's when breakthroughs happen.
Isn't that the truth? How often's the best idea hit you out of nowhere? Like, when you weren't even trying.
Exactly. In stillness, we tap into a different intelligence. Not thinking our way through life, but being present enough for answers to just appear.
Okay, got to try this. So how do we quiet the chatterbox? How do we tap into this power of now? It's like our brains are on overdrive 24/7, right? Thoughts just won't quit. How do we even begin to escape that?
Well, Tolle says the mind, that ego we were talking about, it clings to the past, the future, uses them to feel in control, even if it's an illusion of control.
Because if we're busy regretting yesterday or stressing about tomorrow, we aren't really here today.
Precisely. The mind knows this. It feeds on those thoughts. It's actually afraid of the present moment because NW, in the now, all the worries, the anxieties, they lose their power.
You know, it's like when you get really into something. Painting, a deep conversation, even just a good book. You're not thinking about breakfast or what's for dinner. You just are.
That's it. Tolle would love that example. We've all had those glimpses of pure presence. Mind goes quiet. We're just absorbed in the experience.
It makes you wonder where our attention really is most of the time. Are we living our lives or lost in our heads?
A question worth asking ourselves for sure. And Tolle gives us some tools to access that present moment more fully, one of the most powerful. Becoming aware of our senses.
Senses. Sounds almost too simple.
It can be, but also profound. Instead of getting lost in thought, shift your attention. What do you see, hear, smell, taste, touch right now?
So like if I'm anxious, instead of fighting it, I could focus on my feet on the ground, the air on my skin.
Exactly. Bringing awareness to the physical sensations of the present moment. Might sound strange, but the more you practice this shift, thoughts to senses, you start to notice the spaces between thoughts.
And that's where this power of now lives, in the quiet spaces.
That's where you begin to tap into it. Another thing Tolle's big on, conscious breathing.
Okay, this is feeling less self-help, more like meditation guide.
And that's no accident. Tons of spiritual traditions, they've known about the power of breath, of presence for ages. Tolle's bringing it into today's world. You don't have to live on a mountaintop to access this.
So I can keep my day job, no monastery required.
Unless you want to. Point is, these practices, they fit into life. You can be aware of your breath washing dishes, stuck in traffic, even at the grocery store.
Instead of my mental to-do list running wild, those moments become chances to be present, just by focusing on breath.
You got it. Little pockets of time throughout the day to reconnect, to ground yourself in the now.
Powerful way to find some peace, even joy, in the middle of all the chaos. But what about all the emotional baggage we carry? Where does that fit in?
Ah, yes. That brings us to the pain body. Essentially, it's all that old emotional pain we hold on to.
Okay, that sounds heavy. Is that where our minds go when we're not being present? Back to the pain.
It can, and the more we identify with those old hurts, the more power we give them. The pain body, it feeds off our attention.
Like it's got us stuck on repeat, but only the bad parts.
Exactly. Tolle, he describes it as this energy field, right? Lives in our mind, our body, all those old hurts, traumas, disappointments, all piled up. And just like a virus, it needs that negative energy to survive.
So the more we dwell on those old wounds, the stronger this pain body gets.
That's the idea. It's almost like it's got its own life separate from us, and it's sneaky, whispering those negative thoughts. You're not good enough. You'll never be happy, all that.
It's kind of wild to think we might actually be creating those experiences ourselves just by believing them.
Radical, isn't it?
Yeah.
But here's the empowering part. We can change those patterns. We're not doomed to repeat, to relive the same pain over and over.
Okay, so how do we break free? Got to get in the ring with this pain body and, like, take it down.
Ha ha, love the energy. It's not quite a boxing match, though. Remember those quiet spaces between thoughts we talked about? That's where it starts.
Cultivating presence.
Yes. Being fully here, in the now, that's where the pain body loses its grip. Can't survive in the light of awareness.
So not ignoring the pain, pretending it's not there. It's about experiencing it differently.
You got it. Becoming a compassionate observer of our own experience. Feelings come up, we notice them, acknowledge them, no judgment, then let them go.
Easier said than done, I'm thinking. Got to take some serious practice to get that self-aware.
It does. But the more we practice, the more natural it becomes. And that's what Tolle's pointing to. Real freedom, real fulfillment, it comes from aligning with our true nature, which is pure awareness. We are not our thoughts, not our emotions, not our pain.
We're something much bigger than all that. That awareness, that presence, that power of now.
Exactly. And when we tap into that, even for a second, it changes everything.
This has been amazing. The power of now. It's not just self-help. It's like a wake-up call.
To a deeper reality that's always there right now.
We just got to remember to open the box.